Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to continue our NFL predictions with the Buffalo Bills. And I'm starting to feel a little bad for this team. Because I feel like every year, I feel like they're going to the Super Bowl. They have Super Bowl expectations. And it looks like they're going to get there. Only a brick wall can stop this team. Its name is the Kansas City Chiefs. And sure, they beat them in the regular season the last 4 times. But they just cannot beat them when it counts. And their window, and I'm starting to see that window for them starting to close a bit. But they did get an MVP season for Josh Allen, which I think he deserved. But it was also pretty hotly contested with Lamar Jackson. But this is not the Ravens video. But the Bills, they need to go to the Super Bowl. Just go. I don't care if they win or lose. They just need to go to keep that window open. Because it's starting to close faster than you think. And looking at their schedule, they went 13-4, which was the second best in the AFC behind the Kansas City Chiefs. They were the only team one of just 2 teams to legitimately beat the Kansas City Chiefs. No, I'm not counting that Bronco game. The Chiefs basically played the C team and got shut out, so I'm not counting that. But for the Bills, they did get off to a small rough patch, losing to the Ravens, which they got destroyed in. And then coaching cost them the Texans game. Week 14, they just got out. Matthew Stafford just got hot that game. And then week 18 against the Patriots, they played the B team in the second half. So Bills after that. So basically after that Texans game. Okay, Buffalo, let's take a look at your schedule. And boom, you're starting off with the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday Night Football, a rematch of the AFC Divisional Round matchup. And with this being the final home opener in which I still call Ralph Wilson Stadium, I think that environment is going to be very, very tough to overcome. I'm going with the Bills for that one. Week 2 against the Jets. I think this is probably going to be one of the few early season losses that they're going to have. I'm going to go ahead and take the Jets to take the win at home. In their next 2 games, I got them winning over the Dolphins on Thursday night, beating the Saints because pretty much I think everyone else is going to do that. And that takes us to week 5 against the Patriots. So far, the AFC East is playing a lot of their divisional games within the first 6 weeks. But I am going to go ahead and give them a win here. That is another game that's on Sunday night for some reason. Against the Falcons, that's a Monday night game. Which means with the Falcons coming off a bye week at that, I am very torn on giving them the win here. And after this game, the Bills will be the team coming off the bye. And this might be one of the toughest games for me to predict. Give me the Falcons. I think the Falcons stun them because of that bye week factor, which the Bills will be coming off a bye week, will be going on a bye week of their own. Against the Panthers, I'm gonna go ahead and give them a win there. Even though I think that game's gonna be very, very close. And that sets up week 9. The Tony Romo Bowl, I like to call it. Mahomes versus Allen. And I think this time Mahomes is going to get them in the regular season. Because I feel like the Bills are tired of beating the Chiefs in the regular season. They just want to beat them in the postseason one time. Just for once. They just want to beat them. But I think they probably will go ahead and lose to this one. But they'll bounce back against the Dolphins. I have them with the season sweep. Against the Buccaneers, I think that one's going to be very, very close. Hotly contested. Because I think the Bucs are going to be one of the underrated teams this year. I'm going to go ahead and take the Bills in that. Against the Texans, I'm going to go ahead and take the Bills on the road for that one. That's going to be a Thursday night game. And that will revenge whatever they did last time. Week 13 against the Steelers. I'm not high on Pittsburgh. Even with Aaron Rodgers, I'm going to give them another road win there. But against the Cincinnati Bengals, which they'll be coming off a mini bye, I'm going to go with the Bengals to get the road win here. In the last 4 games on the schedule, I'm taking the Bills on the road. I'm going to take, for the next two games, I'm giving the Bills a lot of road wins. And you want to know what's crazy? I'm going to go ahead and have them getting swept by the Jets because at this, you know what? Let me change that. Let me go ahead and give them a win over the Jets, only for tiebreaker reasons. Because if I remember, I had the Chiefs going 12-5. If I give them the Jets loss, they'll be at 12-5. But since the Chiefs got head to head, I feel like the Bills need to be the number. If they want to go to the Super Bowl, they're going to need to be the number one seed. Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to continue our NFL predictions with the Miami Dolphins. And this was a disappointing season for the Dolphins. 2 years of going back to back in the postseasons. This season, well, once again, they have to deal with the Tua injury. And whenever Tua is not on the field, this team goes way under. But he wasn't the only one that was battling injuries. I remember Jalen Waddle was injured. Tyreek Hill wasn't his normal self. And then Devon A-Chain, he also had an injury as well. And don't forget the defense, which remember their top two pass rushers in Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb. They're coming off of Achilles injuries, and those take time to heal. But looking at the Miami Dolphins, yeah, I feel like this is put up or shut up season for them. And looking at their schedule, they went 11, 8-9, and that wasn't even close to make the postseason. That means sure they got a win over the Jacksonville Jaguars, but they had to come from behind to get that. But they did get their first win without Tua by beating the New England Patriots before the bye week. But Tua didn't return to all the way to week 8. So his concussion was pretty messed up. But they did go on a little run in the second half of the season. But once they did, it was pretty much too little too late. They were pretty much out. They were basically out of the postseason. And for Tua, I don't think he played the last 2 games of the season. So yeah, Miami, this is another, like I said before, I'll say it again. It's put up or shut up. A lot of people, a lot of jobs are on the line for 2025. Alright, Miami, let's take a look at the schedule. And you start the season off with the Indianapolis Colts. But given that I'm not really high on Indianapolis this season, I am going to pick the Dolphins to get a road win to start the season off very strong. And then against the New England Patriots, how about 2-0? I got them going 2-0 against the New England Patriots because let's be real, they always beat the Patriots. Try saying that about 7 years ago. But against the Buffalo Bills, Thursday Night Football in Buffalo, I'm not going to pick them for that. And they turn around, they got a Monday night game against the Jets. So 3 of their first 4 games are all in the division. But a mini bye with the Dolphins, I'm going to go ahead and pick them to win. Then they got the Carolina Panthers. And this one could be tricky. This one for me is a very tricky pick to make. Because, for one, the game's going to be played in Charlotte. And I can see this, and with that being said, I can see this game going in any direction. But because I don't trust Carolina's defense, I got to go with Miami on the road. And I already got them beating the Chargers at home. So, yeah, things are off to a very interesting start. Now we got the Cleveland Browns. And Cleveland's another team I'm not that high on either. So I'm going to give them the win there. So it's a 6-1 start for the Dolphins. But this is when things going to start going a little south for them. Against the Falcons, I'm going to go ahead and give them a loss there. But against Baltimore, this is another interesting game. Because Baltimore, Thursday Night Football, though sometimes the craziest things happen. I think Miami could upset Baltimore in that one. But against the Bills, I think the Bills take the season series against them and turn around. I'm going to go with the Washington Commanders to get the win on the road against Miami. So at their bye week, they only got 4 losses, which is still good, but we got to see what happens towards the end. And it takes us all the way to the game against the Saints. The Saints is going to be probably one of the worst teams of the league, so I already have them putting a win there. Week 14 against the Jets. I'm going to let them split the series with the Jets here. Week 15 against the Steelers. This is another tricky one, but now that the Steelers got Aaron Rodgers, and I'm very careful with my expectations with said team, I'm going to go ahead and take the Steelers to win this one. Bengals, I'm going to give the Bengals the road win. Give the Bucks the road win. And I'm giving the Patriots the win at home to close. So they're going to close the season on a 5-game collapse. And that brings them to 8-9. 7-1 start. 7-4 to start the season. 8-9 to finish. That will probably not be enough for them to make the playoffs. But hey, I could be wrong. They could probably feed off on that fast start that I got them going on. But we're just going to have to wait and see on that. So anyway, tell me what y'all think in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Gamble safely. And I'll see you next time. Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to continue our NFL predictions with the New York Jets. Calling the Jets a disaster would be an understatement for 2024. But I don't know any other words I could put onto it. Everyone expected Aaron Rodgers to come in and revive the Jets, myself included, where I had a 12 and I gave them a 12-5 number 1 seed in the AFC. I promised I'll never have that happen again. But it was just a mess all the way around. Rodgers, he clearly was not the same guy after the Achilles injury. They fired Robert Saleh after 5 games. They brought in Devontae Adams, and not even he could save the Jets. Overall, they were the biggest disappointment in 2025. They got a new regime, new head coach in Aaron Glenn of the Detroit Lions, and they've signed Justin Fields to a 2-year deal, where they could possibly find out after 1 year if things don't work out. And looking at the Jets' schedule, from last year, they went 5-12, very opposite of what I had at 12-5. And sure, they won after losing to the 49ers. They won their next 2. People thought, okay, things are looking fine for the Jets. Then they lost their next 5, which included losing to the Patriots. They did get a surprising win over the Houston Texans for some reason, but it was just not a good year for the Jets. Maybe it's because of Jets. Maybe it's because of Rodgers' regression. Who knows? But can they make it to the playoffs next year? Even though I have doubts about that, we'll just have to wait and see. All right, Jets. Let's take a look at your schedule, and oh boy, Week 1 is against the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers led Steelers. We already know that game, Rodgers is going to get booed from hell and back. But I think you might get a vintage Aaron Rodgers game in that one. So I'm going to give the Steelers the win there. But Week 2 against the Bills, I have the Jets winning that one. Then the rest kind of goes a bit awry for the Jets. Have them lose it to the Bucks, lose it to the Dolphins, lose it to the Cowboys. But against the Broncos, I'm going to go ahead and give them a win there. And I'm also going to give them a win over the Carolina Panthers. Week 8 against the Bengals, however, I'm going to go ahead and give the Bengals the win there. That sets up a Week 9 game against the Browns. Another team, Browns again, not high on. But I'm going to give them the win there. New England Patriots, Week 11. Thursday Night Football, I'm going to go ahead and roll with the Patriots to win that one. People think the Patriots are going to be pretty good. But like with the Carolina Panthers, I have my doubts. Ravens, I think the Ravens should take care of them. Week 13 against the Falcons, I have the Falcons winning on the road. Week 14 against the Miami Dolphins, I have them splitting that. Week 15 against the Jacksonville Jaguars, I'm going to give the Jaguars a win there. Week 16 against the Saints, for some reason I got the Saints winning that game. Which leads me to, they're going to split with the Patriots, and then they'll split with the Bills, which gives their record 6-11. Probably not enough to make the postseason, but it is 5. But again, 5-12 is better than 6-11. I think the Jets will probably take that if that comes with something. But anyway, tell what y'all think in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Gamble safely, and I'll see you next time. Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to continue our NFL predictions with the New England Patriots. So it's safe to say that Gerard Mayo did not work out as head coach, so the team hired another alum in Mike Vrabel. For the Patriots itself, I think the team expected to be in rebuild mode, but that season just wasn't pretty for them. Sure, Drake May had promise, but like the Texans' offensive line, theirs was pretty bad. But I think the Patriots had a pretty good offseason. They signed Stephon Diggs from the Texans, and they drafted Will Campbell. Those are great starts. And that led many people saying that the Patriots could be a dark horse team heading into 2025. And I could see some optimism surrounding that theory. And like I said, last year they went 4-13, but they got a win over the Cincinnati Bengals week 1. No one saw that coming. But we all know this team was going to be in a rebuild. They did get a win over the Jets and Bears at week 8 and 10 respectively. But after that, they were just pretty much overmatched by almost every opponent before getting a season-closing win over the Buffalo Bills, a Bills team that was resting starters. But hopefully Drake May could live up to some of his promise that was flashed last year into a respectable 2025 campaign for the Patriots. Let's take a look. Okay, New England Patriots, let's take a look at your schedule. And I know a lot of people think the Patriots are going to be pretty good. I do have my doubts. But anyway, let's start off with them getting a win over the Raiders. I think they're going to beat the Raiders week 1. Week 2 against the Dolphins, though, they always find a way to lose to this team. Week 3 against the Steelers, they always find a way to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I'm going to give them a win there. Week 4, I have them losing at home to the Carolina Panthers. I know. Week 5 against the Bills, I have them losing to the Bills on Sunday night. I have them losing to the Saints again for some reason. Week 6. I have them losing to the Titans, which will be the Mike Vrabel revenge game. Week 8 against the Browns, though, I'll give them a win there. Week 9 against the Atlanta Falcons, I'm going to give them a win there. Week 10 against the Bucks, I have them losing to the Bucks on the road, beating the Jets at home. And now that brings us to the Cincinnati Bengals, a team that they actually beaten week 1 of last season. Do I think it's going to happen again? No. I think Joe Burrow is going to find a way to get into a rhythm. He's going to be very, very good in that game. Week 13 against the Giants. For some ungodly reason, this game is on Monday night, but I'm going to give the Patriots the win there. And to close off their schedule, I have them getting swept by the Bills, losing to the Ravens, losing to the Jets, but beating the Dolphins week 18, which puts their record at 7-10. A vast improvement for what they were last year. But unfortunately, it probably won't be good enough for them at all. But anyway, tell me what y'all think in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Gamble safely, and I'll see you next time.